I've come down to Portals today, Portals now, so I'm on my own. Anita's at school and I've sneaked off a little bit early today. And the reason I'm here is because I had a message from Kathy from Minnesota in the United States, and she was telling me that she used to live in Portals now. So that's where I am. This is the beach of Portals now, and most of you probably won't recognise it or think of it as the beach of Portals now. When we first came here, this was always referred to as the Portals Nous beach, and all the signs would be pointing in this direction to the Portals Nous beach. There is now a much bigger beach, obviously, but that didn't exist when we first came to the island in 1985. It was just a narrow strip of sand, of stones, pebbles, and the sand was pumped onto that beach. We'll have a look at that beach a little bit later, but this little bay here is what I know of as the Portals Nous beach. Great beach for snorkeling, and a few people out on stand-up paddle boards, and I've seen some kayaks out there as well. There used to be a little jetty. It's changed a lot over the years. The jetty has gone, and the whole place has been remodeled. If we just come round and have a look over here, we can see the hotel. That has undergone a complete refurbishment. I'm not sure how old that original building is. It was certainly here when we first came. I think it was called the Aqua Beach Hotel, but it didn't really look anything like that now. I'm going to make my way up into the village. There is a path, so we could actually go along the path around the headland, but I want to go up a little bit higher into the village to see if I can locate where Kathy used to live back in the early 1960s. So we're talking about 60 years ago now, and it'd be interesting if we can actually find the house where she lived. So I'm going to switch the camera off. I'm going to drive up into the village and we'll catch up there. I'm now driven up into the village of Portals, and the building behind me is the church, which stands on the headland overlooking the sea. So that certainly would have been here in the 1960s. Much of the village though was built since, and you might be able to hear in the background there's quite a lot of construction work going on still. Let's go down, have a look at the beach, which wasn't there in the 1960s, but in front of me I've got the island, which obviously would have been there. So directly in front of me I have the island, which is just off Portals Nous, and directly below is the beach, which many will consider to be the Portals Nous beach. This is a man-made beach. When we first came to the island in 1985, this was just a narrow strand of pebbles with no sand, and they brought the sand in and dredged it onto the pebbles, and they created a beach. When they created it, it was about equal width all the way along, but there must be a small current here which has pulled much of the sand from my left to the right, where we now have the port of Portals, Puerto Portals. Again, this didn't exist back in 1985, and certainly didn't exist in early 1960s. So that's brand new, relatively brand new, and it's still obviously under development. We can hear the jackhammers going there. They're actually doing some construction work, but it's a place which attracts, the port attracts some really big, very expensive, very exclusive yachts, and every year quite a few celebrities of sorts come and spend the summer on yachts, and quite often you'll find them moored here, and you'll find the celebrities in the bars and in the restaurants dotted around the port. Just as a point of reference, over to the right, just beyond the port, we've got Palma Nova, and then Torrenova, and then over the other side there's Magaluf, and going beyond that you get to Santa Ponsa. Looking in the other direction, it goes over to Arenal, and before that we'd have Ilietas and Palma. I'm going to take a little walk into the village and see if I can spot anything which would have been there 60 years ago. That's an awful long time. This is the church of Portals Nous, and during the pandemic they've been holding their masses outside, so some lines out here indicating where people can stand, and an altar has been set up. But the church itself is open, so if I just walk around here, You can see the church is actually open. It's a very small church. But you can go in and pay your respects. Can't speak too loudly because there's a couple in there who are doing exactly that. So I'm going to walk around the church. You see it's not too big inside, and I guess the buildings in front of us which belong to the church where the priest lives, he's used to, but some of the other buildings are again relatively new. This one in front of us used to be a restaurant. That wall now is pretty derelict, so no restaurant there anymore. And it didn't used to be gated off. So we moved to the village of Portals in 1985, and at that time a piece of land to our right, which is now a little sports centre, was five-a-side football pitch, sort of a gravelly red ash five-a-side. There were some swings, I think, for the children. I used to bring my children down. I seem to be doing some more work here on the road. I'm doing a lot of work here actually. The roads were not all one way, there was nowhere near so much traffic then. Imagine in 1962 there was virtually no traffic at all, and if there was, it would be little Fiat 600s. This road I'm coming to my right now, which is all blocked off, they're doing some construction work. This is the road that runs down to that small beach that I started the video. And we used to live down at the bottom of there actually, and Anita wasn't working very much at the time. She used to come up this rather steep hill pushing a pushchair to get to the village. But to the right, this building we're walking past now, in the 1960s would have been a hotel, and eventually got converted to a school. And originally it was the ASM, American School of Mallorca. I think a lot of the Americans came here to do with oil, and the parents were working in Libya, and the school eventually changed its name. There was a bit of trouble and it became American International School, or AIS, but it's now King Richard III International College and follows a British curriculum, so it's lost its American roots. The houses along this road are all, well, they were here when we came, so they were here in 85, but I'm pretty sure that most of them were not here way back in the 60s. The village is just in front of me. I'm just going to take a swing to the left here. Again, it's a big apartment block, the Catty block here on the left. That was here when we came, but I don't think it would have been there in the 1960s, so this would have been a clean sweep down to the sea, where the modern day Portals Nous village is. I'm just going to have to walk past these cars. I'm parked on the pavement here because I guess they're picking up their children from school. So it's just coming up to school finishing time. It's 10 to 4, and I'm not sure how this school does it, but our school does it in stages because of the COVID restrictions that we've had. all the children don't leave at the same time, so different year groups live at different times. This is the back of the supermarket, and the supermarket was here when we came in '85. It wasn't like this, it was completely different. It was on 2 floors. The house that we lived in is right in front of us. We used to live in that house for about 13 years, and mention it to some people who used to stay at Silver Point. Silver Point is down the road to my left here. It's an apartment block. But one of the reasons for coming here is just to put things in a little bit of perspective, because there was a lady, an American lady, and I'm not sure if Kathy knew her. It's named Sarah Lane Wise, and Sarah Lane Wise was the founder of the school that I came to teach, and she used to live just down there on the right hand side. Again, that leads straight down to the sea. The road to the left would take you down to the beach that we've just seen. This is Calle Marina, and we used to live in the house on this corner. We don't live there anymore. We live up in Genova now. If you want to know about that, you're going to have a look, search through the YouTube videos. So when we came to live here, it was a much quieter village back in 1980. We didn't come here in 85, we lived down by the beach in 85, so about 1987 I think we came here. And the building across the road, which is shops and restaurants and offices and the car park, none of that existed. All of that was just waste ground. I don't know if there'd been anything on it before, but it was certainly not like that. And we're just coming up now into the village of Portals, which even if you are a regular visitor, I'm sure you're going to notice a few changes. One of them is that right in front we have a new place called Frankie's. We've not been there yet. All green, and that's changed a couple of times over the years. The block there can get very busy. We're just coming up into the square. All of these buildings, pretty much all of them I think, are new buildings, relatively new. All of this across the road has been developed since we've been here. And even the bank across the road has changed. This is now where La Caixa Bank is. That's my bank, but it's changed. It used to be across the road. This has only happened in the last few months. So if you're coming here looking for La Caixa, this is where it is. And Banca Mark, just down there. Gemelli's on the corner down there is one of our favourite places to go for breakfast. And this is the other side of the supermarket, Sidon, which is absolutely amazing. And it used to be our regular place to go shopping, and pretty much still is one of the places that Anita will call in to get those things she can't find anywhere else. And we always tend to buy some wine from there. It's a great place, fantastic selection of wine. Another new block in front of us with different sorts of shops and offices, estate agents, and I'm now going to go up the hill. So this is like the old Portals Nous, but as you can see just by looking at the buildings that are around, a lot of the buildings are not old. This one on the right and the one to my left is actually very, very new. But there are dotted along here some houses which could possibly date back to the 60s. I'm looking at one to my right now. But to find the house where Kathy thinks she used to live, I've got to walk all the way up this road. That's going to do my step count good. Yesterday I did a couple of walks around Palmanova area and managed just about to get my 10,000 steps in, so he's just proud of me. Someone asked me if I would rewarded myself with a beer and an ice cream. I told them they're off my diet at the moment. I've got to try and lose a little bit of weight. Well, I'm going to be walking up here for a bit now. I'm just going to turn the camera off, and you don't have to listen to me puffing and panting all the way up. Well, I've made it to the top of that little piece, and I've got to head around in this direction. Carrer den Segui, and that's the road where Kathy thinks she's used to live. She's been looking on Google Maps, so hopefully I will give her a better perspective. But I mentioned earlier on about lots of building work going on, and just over here, if I get past these bins and I put the camera up over the fence, you'll see the sort of thing that's happening. So up you go. And for those of you who know the Maxine Apartments, that's just behind there. So the white block behind this new build is the Maxine Apartments. Well, again, we're not going down there. We're going to go up here. And I'm starting at the very beginning, so right in front of me I've got number 1. And I'm going to be walking up to try and find number 17. It's quite a hilly area and goes up quite a way, so do be patient. If you want to skip on or skip back, then feel free to do so. A few little things to see. For example, on my right now is again another relatively new addition to Portals. I'm just going to cross over and have a good look, because I've never really walked past this, I only ever drive past. And can't say I've ever noticed these steps before, but there you go. This is the Portals Hills Boutique Hotel. So it's, for me, this is relatively new. It's probably been here for a few years, but I don't know. Hola, buenas. Hey, hola. Just giving it a fresh lick of paint for the summer, and I'm up to number 7 already. So on that side I'm up to number 7. Again, number 7's a very new house. Just heading up a little bit further, you can see it's a little bit steep and there's a little bit of noise because there's more construction work going on. So again, I'm going to turn off the camera till I get up to the top. I'm not quite at the top, but I'm just looking at where all that noise is coming from. And it's from this house, which looks to be a fairly new build, but it's been completely gutted inside. All the roofs and ceilings are supported with acros, and there's a man on the roof with a pneumatic drill chipping away at it, so not sure what's going on there, but it is very noisy. So onward and upward, nearly at the top. Doing my exercise regime, the world of good. And there's another project going on here. So for the people who live here, and I know from experience, it's very, very noisy. When they're digging away, they have big JCB type jackhammers taking away the rocks. So over the road you'll be able to see they've actually dug away into the rocks there, and that's so that they can provide parking. Parking is very much at a premium, and so a new house will have to have those facilities. I used to have some friends, Ralph used to live in this house here, American again, but has gone back to live in the States. So it's quite unusual to see a piece of land like that one on the left of where I'm walking, and my guess is that at some point in time that will be developed as well. It's probably down as the garden of some house which is above. So now I am getting warm. The house we're looking for is on the left, and I'm looking up at a house on the top, right up there, which again is not complete. It's all being constructed as we speak. But this is number 17, and it looks as though it's had a huge extension. If this is where you live, Kathy, it is a huge house now. So the original house is over there to the left, and then there's a huge extension on the right. In the photographs that Kathy sent to me, there were some pictures which were from around about here, and they looked down that way, and there were no houses there at all, which is probably right. All of these are relatively new. I'll just walk up a little bit further. You can see just the style of the houses is much more modern than the 1960s. But there may be, if I go just up to this next little rise here, there may be some properties here that were around in the 1960s, but there is an amazing view down there over the village of Portals and then over to the sea. So the elevation is actually quite important. So from down there I could see the house to my right, which looks might be of that era, but it might also be a little bit more modern. And you can see the road sort of forks here, so I can either go up, I don't think I'm up to that, I'm going to go down and it's in the wrong direction, so I'm not going to go on either of those, but up would just take me further round Portals House, like a housing estate, and down there would take me down towards Bendinat. So I hope this has been helpful, Kathy, and Kathy tells me her dad will be watching these videos, so I hope you recognise some of the places. If I just come over this side, we might just be able to see through the cracks here, see some of the views that you would have enjoyed back down in the 1960s. So I can see the sea quite nicely here now. Imagine the sort of views that the houses here have. I'm going to make my way back down to the village by the same route that I've come, so there's no point leaving the camera on. When I produce this video, I'll put it on the YouTube channel, but we do remember having a second YouTube channel which is for 360 views, where you'll actually be able to see everything around me, and I'm going to try and do that. I'll put this up as a 360. I've neglected it for a while, so maybe this is the one that will kick me off again on that YouTube channel. It's got exactly the same name, it's a 360 VR Steve and Anita in Mallorca, and there you'll have a look to see if you can see everything. You can see all around, in front and behind, up and down. So I'll catch up in a minute when I get down to the village. I'm back down in the village of Portals now, and it's school's out time, so there's lots of cars coming to pick up the children from school. I'm going to head back to my car and off home to meet Anita. So thanks very much for watching. I hope the video's been of help, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now.